Hello, welcome to Earth and Space Science. We're going to be learning about this beautiful creation as you're watching in the video as you watch the sunset, the moon, and the stars, and it's all in astronomy. So we're just going to study about astronomy. And this video is mainly on the introduction to the astronomy. So let's just get started.
Greetings and welcome to the introduction to astronomy. In this lecture video, we will talk a little bit about astronomy and science. So some of the things that we look at in an astronomy course, some of the different objects that astronomers study, and then why do we want to study astronomy at all? And what do astronomers use the scientific method? We want to discuss how that works in astronomy and in general. So those are a few of the things that we're going to go over in this lecture. So let's start off with, first of all, what is astronomy? Well, most simply put, astronomy is the study of the universe and everything in it. So anything that we see in the universe is part of the study of astronomy. I've given a number of things here that are included, but anything within the universe, it's not a comprehensive list. There's a lot more that could be studied. So let's start off looking at one example, and that is an example of a planet. Within our solar system, we have planets and moons that we study in astronomy. And here we have an example, and this is the planet Mars. Mars has some interesting features. We see some great volcanoes over here on the side that are present, not currently active, but that have been active in the past. We see a great rift valley here that we call Valles Marineris. So a great rift in the crust of Mars that would stretch across our entire country and across the entire United States if it were here on the Earth. So an incredibly large valley there. Mars also will have polar caps and does have a thin atmosphere as well. There are, of course, lots of other planets and moons that would be studied as well, but here is Mars as one example of objects that are studied by astronomers. Now also we study not only within our solar system do we have planets and moons, but we also have comets and asteroids. So here's an example of a comet, and we see on the comet a number of different features. We see the head or coma of a comet, and that's here at the front, which is this outer layer, outer region here. That is the head of the comet. And then we see the tail or tails. In most cases, a comet will have two tails stretching back away from the sun. Comets are essentially an ice ball that maybe is the size of a city, a few miles across. And when they get close to the sun, the material gets vaporized and forms the head and the tail. Comets, like planets, are one of those objects that have been known to people since ancient times. But of course, with modern technology and being able to actually go visit these objects, we have a much better understanding of them today than we did hundreds of years ago. Now, not everything we study in astronomy is within our own solar system. We also look at other objects, and that would include things like stars. Stars, a picture of an individual star doesn't look like much because stars are so far away that even to the largest telescopes, they just look like points of light. So this is an example of a star cluster that we see. So a cluster of stars, or a grouping of stars, here taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. Stars can be grouped together in clusters. They can be alone by themselves, pretty much like our own sun. And they can be grouped together in larger groupings. But star clusters would be a part of an example of what we'd see within a galaxy. So that leads us to our next slide that shows us a galaxy here, and this is an example of a spiral galaxy. So galaxies come in different types, and spirals are one example. Our own galaxy is a spiral galaxy, and you can see coming from the central portion here that there are spiral arms that stretch out and around the galaxy as it sits here. So we see those spiral arms. That's where a lot of the stars are forming within the galaxies. We would also see star clusters forming within the galaxy, as well as other objects that we would look at. There are also different types of galaxies. A spiral is one type of galaxy, but there are also other types of galaxies that we see, including things like ellipticals and irregular galaxies that astronomers would also study. As we look at others, one of the other things that we can see is nebulae. So within the galaxy, there are also nebulae. Nebulae come in different types. This is one example, and this is an example of a supernova remnant. So what we have here is the remnant of a supernova that occurred a long time ago. And this is the remnant of it, not seeing the supernova of itself, but we are seeing the remnant, what the material left behind. And what happened visible here on Earth in 1054 was a really bright star, what we called a supernova. Nova is a new star, and a supernova was an extremely bright new star and became one of the brightest objects in the sky. And a supernova can actually be visible during the daytime. And in the nearly 1,000 years since this supernova was seen to occur, the material has been expanding outward, and you see the filaments and structures within that nebula as it expands outward, as it has been doing so for nearly 1,000 years now. Now at the center of this nebula, in this case, would be a neutron star, the collapsed core of the star left behind, the mass of the sun, or even a little bit larger, and the size would be the size of a city, maybe about 6 or so miles across. So compacted down to extremely dense levels, not quite a black hole, which is our next topic, but very, very close to it, and something that we call a neutron star. Now, as I said, black holes were the next thing to look at. So let's look at the black hole here. How do we get an image of a black hole? Well, we don't. This is actually an artist's conception or drawing of what we believe a black hole would look like. So the black hole itself is invisible because it is matter that has condensed down so much that even light cannot escape from it. So nothing escapes from a black hole because nothing can travel faster than light. However, outside what we call the event horizon of a black hole, which is the point from which light can no longer escape, again, we call that the event horizon. Then when we're further out than that, then material can escape. And here we're seeing, as the artist conceives, and some black holes seem to be doing, that material is being pulled from a companion star and then spirals in and around in towards the black hole. That gives the black hole a source of energy, and then allows us to see the material around the black hole as it is heated up to incredibly high temperatures. So as this material spirals in, it's heated up to very, very high temperatures, and that allows it to give off radiation that can then be detected. Once it crosses this event horizon, we can no longer get any more information about that black hole. And these are just some of the objects that astronomers study.